here we go. This was what Vicegrad, so I'm sure you're familiar with them, one of the premier Zionist media entities. So here we go. Here's what he had to say.
To what Abby Martin said.
Well, this is Abi's desperate attempt to discredit me. I am a man of the field. I fought against Hamas as part of legitimate intelligence organization, against savage group that were targeting civilians in suicide bombing attacks, waves of suicide bombing attacks that they killed people indiscriminately. So Abi today want me for some reason to apologize for saving human life, because my truth challenges her convenient truth. Abby does not have the authority. She's just a self-appointed low-grade journalist. How can you be a journalist and you call this a genocide, ethnic cleansing? And she just keep repeating ethnic cleansing, genocide, colonialism, etc. None of it is real, including Palestine. It's only in your head. None of it is existential. Palestine was never born. How can you free it? It was never there. It's just a colonial entity, and some people choose to make it into a national identity. And this parrot has been just repeating Hamas propaganda. Marwan Barghouti that she's talking about him, she never met him. I knew Marwan before he got to power. He's a criminal. He killed 5 people. He has blood on his hands. He cheated on his wife. He has a secret son that he never revealed it to the public. Of course, I can criticize him, and I can criticize all the criminals that I know personally. She's been there only for a visit, and maybe she had some falafel sandwich, and she really was blown away of the Palestinian experience. There is no such a thing as Palestine. It's about time to retire, find a different job. You're not a journalist. You don't qualify even to be a mother.
Okay, so Richard, so this gentleman is Shin Bet. He has lived in the United States, I believe, for the last 20 plus years. He claims to be very connected to Hamas. So your reaction to this, especially given, I know we spoke a little bit over voice chat about Piers Morgan, so we can kind of lump this into kind of the role he plays as well, given also your relationship to London and in the media there. So I'll just kick it to you.
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way. Okay, let's say Palestine doesn't exist. Fine. What are these people from Europe doing there, killing people and stealing their houses? I mean, actually, this is, I argue like this. I mean, I'll put it to you that it's true. All of these lines that you see on the map, yes, they were drawn by Britain and they were drawn by France during Sykes-Picot. Okay, so let's erase them. I'm more than happy to. And you have what you have left. You have Syria, and then you have Egypt. Okay, great. Everybody gets along fine. Now you can't go into someone else's country and then make a new country. Like would Germany accept, for example, if Syrian refugees would create their own country inside Germany? No, of course not. So why are Jewish refugees from Europe coming into Syria and making up their own country? There were no borders, these artificial borders drawn by Britain and France, including Palestine, because what they did is they carved Syria up into pieces. Like Lebanon will be the Christian Arab piece, and then Israel will be the Jewish settler colony. That's Balfour Declaration, which is a year after. And then we'll have we'll just give a piece of Iraq, like Mosul piece of Syria, we'll give it to Iraq. And then a piece of Syria, we'll give it to Turkey, like Antioch. And we'll just like carve up weird shapes on a map on a table in London and Paris. There's no basis in reality. So again, I don't, I'm happy to talk about these how fake European drawn borders are in the Middle East, but it doesn't change what's happening on the ground. And fine, if he wants to, he doesn't want to call it a genocide. You can call it whatever he wants. He can call it table tennis. It's still wrong, right? It's still wrong to kill people and starve them. So again, there are no arguments here, and it's just ridiculous. I'm also kind of I don't necessarily want to call it a genocide, because that's you get people like this who start getting like first of all, oh, the ICJ didn't actually rule this a genocide. Oh, how dare you accuse the Jewish people of, perpetrating a genocide? How dare you this and that? Go to hell. What you're doing is wrong. I don't care what you call it.
Mm.
That's my
yeah. I mean, this is coming in the midst of, and I'll just play because it's very, very brief, just to give a brief rundown so you don't have to. This is what Abby Martin, what she had to say. This is what he got so mad at, because this is coming as Rafah. Rafah's Rafah is under assault now. This a very small portion where Palestinians have been completely trapped after being railroaded, killed, bombed, genocide, and then railroaded and displaced into basically the last vestige of land that exists on the Gaza Strip. But this is all Abby Martin had to say. This is what got him so mad. Let's take a look.
See, Israel has committed, in fact, some of the most heinous war crimes in modern history, Piers. And as we're seeing the invasion now of Rafah, cutting off the last vestige of escape for Palestinians, the last vestige of aid delivery, 1.3 million Palestinians, including 600,000 children, with nowhere left to go. This is what Palestinians were told was a safe corridor. That is why they all fled to Rafah. Rafah has been bombarded for the last several weeks, killing dozens of people every day. So I think at this point, 6 months into a genocide, to be deliberating whether or not Israel should continue with this onslaught, this military operation that will result in mass slaughter to continue their ethnic cleansing of Gaza is frankly absurd, patently so, considering what we've seen them do just in the last several weeks, Piers. Evidence of summary executions of doctors, evidence of mass graves, hundreds of bodies bound, dozens of men, women, and children bound, evidence, according to the UN, of Palestinians buried alive, using drones to lure out Palestinians with sounds of crying children so they could be shot and killed.
So we don't have to go on because, Richard, I know you've covered all of these gruesome details, but could you talk about what exactly is happening in Rafah right now, where people like Piers Morgan and Mossab, whatever his name is supposed to be, these guys, they don't look at the facts, and they also don't look at why this is happening. So what's happening and why is this happening?
Yeah, honestly, I don't care what Piers Morgan does with his, with his free time or work time. Honestly, this is like, it's like trying to explain nuclear physics to someone who does witch trials in the Middle Ages. What is the point? Like, what do we get out of trying to debate something that is indebatable, that you don't, that is inviolable? You can't come on and start like begging someone to understand why these things are wrong when they themselves they refuse to accept that. If they don't understand what's wrong with starving and killing people, then nothing is going to convince them, because they have made up their minds. And these are not people that we need to concern ourselves with. But regardless, I know we have to talk about this, so because the rest of us are sane. And what's happening in Rafah now, this is I don't want to say more significant than Palestinians being killed, because this comes first and foremost. So nothing is going to ever be more important than that. But I want to say, in addition to what's happening to Palestinians, this is a violation of the Camp David Accords. So the 1978-1979 peace treaty between Egypt and Israel, which is a piece of crap that was just orchestrated by the United States so that they could normalize ties between a very important Arab country and their colony. It says very clearly that you can't, there's like, you have lines in wartime after a ceasefire where you don't cross. They're demilitarized zones. So the Israelis are not allowed to send more than 4,000 troops into this area, and especially not with these armaments. The Israelis basically rolling in. They have destroyed all of the aid trucks in Rafah, and there's satellite photo evidence of that I've looked at myself. So these are hundreds of aid trucks that have been, backed up for weeks, gone. They have emptied the Rafah crossing of the aid trucks as well. They have then also gone and taken down the Palestinian flag and raised the Israeli flag. So, if anyone had any doubt as to what their intentions are, be they anything other than colonialism, well, now you know it's colonialism. It's right there. They want to annex it like all of the other land that they've invaded. And so on top of that, the Israelis are violating not just the ceasefire deal, which they kept complaining Hamas won't agree to. Hamas did. And so now that's out the window. But they're not only violating that, they're also violating the peace treaty between Egypt. And of course, Egypt doesn't say or do anything because it's controlled by an American Zionist government. I mean, Nasser will be rolling in his grave right now, seeing this. Really, like he'd be doing 360s if he could see this, the state of things. So, this is, it's very upsetting because I want the Arab countries to do more. They should be doing more, but they're not able to do more. I mean, it's very difficult to protest in Arab countries without getting severely punished. And ironically, by who? By the United States, because they control the police and the intelligence agencies in these countries. And they make sure, you remember that racist State Department guy who was going up to some vendor and saying, I'm going to get my friends
Stuart Seldowitz, yes.
That's not a joke. It's not a joke. Like, I mean, first of all, it's not a joke because he's actually sick like that. But second of all, they actually do control these agencies. So you have no hope, and that's a very, very problematic thing. So the Palestinians are being killed. Their sovereignty is not being respected. The Egyptians, their sovereignty is also not being respected. They have no say in the matter. The Americans control them with food, and the Ethiopia, which has a large Jewish population, and therefore the Israelis control it through that, which is they've done to Arab countries as well, is they infiltrate the Jewish community and abuse and use it. And so the Ethiopians control Egypt through the flow of water with the dams they have built, which also upsets Sudan. So food and water, aid, they've got the Egyptians by the balls, and they can't do anything, and they won't do anything. And so this is a very, very clear indication that when the United States and Israel come to you and talk about diplomacy, there is no diplomacy with these people. They only understand force. They only understand the use of force. And I actually hate to say that. I really don't. I really wish they weren't like that. I don't like this. But my conclusion, as a journalist, as an analyst, is that they don't understand or care for diplomacy. They only appreciate force. And this is a very bad thing because then you lead the world into a violent place. No one wants to use force. Palestinians don't want to have their families killed and then go and join the resistance and live. It's a hard life. It's a very hard life, but they understand that it's necessary to liberate Palestine. But the Americans, they don't care to enforce to pull back their pit bull Israel in any regard. And all these people that were whining, saying, "Where is Hamas? Why won't they accept the ceasefire deal?" Okay, they did. So why won't you rein in the Israelis now? Why won't you force them to accept it? The document has Egypt, Qatar, the UN, and the US as guarantors of the agreement. Why is no one reining in the Israelis and making them sign it? Because the Israelis don't care. They never cared about this. They don't care about diplomacy. They are violent. This is all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, the only report I've heard about the US's, and it's very indirect, the only US response that I've seen in the media, Western media, is a mysterious arms shipment, singular, not shipments, but a singular arms shipment that was paused. And Israel, as you said, the attack dog. That was even too much because the Israeli side started to
I know, right?
Like at the mouth.
How dare you? There's this woman in the Knesset. She goes ballistic and she's like, okay, you won't give me precise missiles? Then I have no choice but to use the imprecise missiles. Yeah, you've already been doing that. That's the problem. I mean, even let's say, for example, the Israelis are using precise missiles. Who the hell are you to start assassinating people in Gaza with precise or imprecise missiles? But she goes on this tirade. She gets on stage in the Knesset and she goes on a tirade, and it's like the most bloodthirsty, like Pan Am colonial image. It's so funny. But I just want to add one thing because I mean, how could I forget? There's another twist to the whole Rafah story. The Israelis have not only hijacked the border crossing between Egypt and Palestine. Again, I just want you to understand what that means. This is like Mexico going to the north of the United States and then taking control of the border between the US and Canada, okay? And not only that, but the Israelis are going to give the control of the border crossing to an American security company, which has experience guarding oil fields and other juicy things in Africa and the Middle East. Oh, I wonder who could that be? Blackwater.
Yeah, that's that is exact. That it's just and of course when I heard a private contractor was going to be controlling this part of the Rafah invasion, this critical part of the. I thought about the pier, right? We heard about the Gaza pier that the United States was going to build, which is also privately outsourced. So I won't. Could you elaborate? And what's the connection here? Because all of these developments are connected.
Can I elaborate? Okay, do you have 2 hours? No, but seriously, like this is my specialty, man, because this thing is like we have to understand something. Gaza has gas, okay? It has a lot of gas in the sea, on the seabed. And this gas field is known as the Leviathan, okay? And it's an 11-time gas basin. And this gas, it goes from Gaza up to so Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, the whole thing, right? Now the Israelis, they have been trying to steal this gas for a long time, and the most overt attempt was just 2 years ago, where they literally brought a giant ship, a vessel, whose sole purpose is to extract gas on the fly and then store it. It's like a behemoth of a thing. And then Hezbollah said, we're going to fire rockets at this thing, or missiles, if you don't back off. And then the Americans sent Hochstein to mediate, and then they hashed out a deal, because the argument is about the maritime borders, and there's gas involved, right? So remember, I've done a documentary miniseries about this. Okay, it's called The Hidden Reasons Behind the War on Gaza, if people want to find it, and I really recommend they go watch this, because it explains all of this in detail. So there's the gas, and there's also the canal. Now, the Israelis have been wanting to build this canal for a long time with the Americans. It's from the 1960s after, so Suez Crisis is in 56. And then in 1963, there's this classified document where they hash out an idea to build their own canal connecting the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and basically undermine Egypt. So that's what they're going. And of course, the canal goes right through Gaza. And the gas that's on Gaza seabed, it's like 3-in-1. We get to erase one part of Palestine, we get to take gas, and then we get to dig a canal and undermine Egypt. And so on top of that, the gas is important. Why? Because they cut off Iran with I've covered the Iran nuclear deal in Vienna. The Iranians are still under sanctions. They can't sell their oil and gas to the Europeans. And Russia was sanctioned with the Ukraine war. So where is Europe going to get its gas from? Oh, Ursula von der Leyen, that bitch. She goes to Egypt and she announces a deal with the Israelis. The Israelis, where are they going to get the gas? They don't have any gas. Oh, that's right. They're going to steal it from Lebanon, as they tried, and they're going to take it from Gaza. So now they can deliver on that deal they signed. So it's all connected. And this pier is ridiculous. I mean, why are you building a pier to deliver aid to people you are killing? What kind of efficient genocide is this? Like you want to feed the people you're starving? What is that? Even for pretense purposes, you wouldn't do that. You would drop aid on people from planes, which they did, and they've killed people, by the way. You have 12 Palestinians who drowned just trying to fetch that aid. So that's how you would pretend to feed people you're starving them. But you don't go through all the trouble of building a giant pier with a jetty and then assembling it, in the sea. This is a cover. It's a front. I mean, again, there is no sense whatsoever to what they're doing, except when you connect the economic dots. And I'll just add something. The BBC reported that the UK, the British Army, are probably going to be the ones delivering the aid, because the Americans, they don't want to, they step on the beach, because if they stepped on the beach, then that would mean that there's a military presence in Gaza, like as if the bombs that are being dropped, they come from Japan, and the special forces there are from Tanzania or something. The Americans are already involved in this war. Who buys this stupid excuse? But they're then claiming that they have a solution now, which is to get British troops to do it. And the British troops are also not going to step, exactly on Gaza and come back to the colony, but they're going to call them wet boots. Like they're going to be, diving and swimming like fairies in the sea and delivering food to the people they are massacring. Now, if you buy any of this stuff, I got news for you. Literally, this is a fantasy. No one is delivering food. And as a matter of fact, one of the ships that was supposed to deliver food, guess what? That was World Central Kitchen. And when the Israelis and Americans murdered that convoy, that ship turned back. There's no food coming. So this thing takes 2 months to build. It's not done yet. Anyway, this pier. The ship turned back because they massacred the staff. And, just it's obvious that this is what they're doing. They're establishing a military foothold. They're only interested in stealing these natural resources. And again, I really urge people to go watch that documentary I made. It's called The Hidden Reasons Behind the War in Gaza. Please share it far and wide, because when people understand what's going on, why this is happening, it's not about racism only. You don't go through all this trouble, like as if it's it's trouble for them, like we should feel sorry for them. But my point is, you don't spend all this time and energy massacring Palestinians in broad daylight, and having an ICJ case opened and bringing in all these European countries to supply you just because of racism. Racism is one element. This is we're talking about settler colonialism here. This project goes back over almost 150 years, Zionism. So it's not just racism. There are economic things involved. That's why these European countries, like Germany, who need gas, are supplying Israel. They need the gas. The only reason Germany became Europe's top economy is because they got cheap Russian gas to power all of the industry with, and then half of their economy became exports. That they were blazing hot because of cheap Russian gas. That's gone. So they need a replacement, and Gaza is the obvious answer.
Yeah, and that's a great point about the economic reasons, and usually they're very connected. Races, hate people, this idea that hatred is just it just comes out of the blue. Usually there's very deep economic reasons why Palestinians need to be dehumanized, or anyone else need to be dehumanized in order to facilitate everything that you're talking about, Richard. I mean, I think it's so critical that this element is brought in here, because why else, right? It just looks like brutality for brutality's sake, and that is too simplistic. It's as if there's no interest.
I just want to underscore your point, if I may. Sorry to cut in, but
sure.
But I just want to underscore what you're saying. When we went and invaded Africa and built the largest empire in history, we didn't just do it because we hate people, because we're racist. The British Empire was a racist project that also just so happened to want spice and to mine diamonds and gold and take over all these resources. And rubber as well from Malaysia and so on. So they're intricately connected. It's because of the racism that you allow yourself then to start stealing from other people and so on and so on. I'm not going to get into the psychology of racist empires, but without question, I know my history, unlike most people in Britain. And it's filled with racist economic projects. So yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to my latest video. I appreciate all of your support. This channel, however, needs your help. I am seeking to make this channel more sustainable in the long term and upgrade necessary equipment to ensure that this work continues onward and makes progress to give you all of the geopolitical analysis that you all deserve. For that reason, I'm asking you to become a member of my Patreon community at patreon.com/DannyDhaiphong. You can find that link in the video description or in the pinned comment below. For whatever amount you choose to give, just know you are supporting independent media that you can't find anywhere else. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next video.